Hello guys, welcome to lesson number 100 where you're finally going to get to know me a little bit more because up to this point I'm just a guy who claimed to be a national master and you're learning from me. So in this lesson I want to tell you more about how I got to become a national master, and my story could be a little bit disappointing but at the same time interesting because I'm not like the traditional person that learned when they were young and then formed themselves and became a title player. It's gonna be a little bit different. I also want to tell you, of course, why I'm doing this project, the YouTube channel. I'm going to tell you where the YouTube channel is going next after lesson number 100, and of course, where I'm going next as a chess player. And mainly, I want to go through your questions. I see here that I have 96 already, and I was hoping that it'll get to 100 because it's lesson number 100, but what can we do? And anyways, these questions, many of them are just you guys saying thank you and very nice compliments. And many of them are going to be answered as I tell you more about my personal journey and everything else. Now, before we get started, I wanted to say thank you to all of you. If you're watching this video, a big thank you, because when this started, I was not expecting it to reach so many people. And thanks to a lot of you guys who are sharing the videos and commenting and liking the videos. And also, many of you are even supporting the channel financially. So a big thank you to you. I have even thought of displaying your names on some of the videos, but I don't think it's necessary because I feel that all of you who are helping the channel, you're doing it to show your appreciation, not to really appear in the video or anything like that. But maybe we do it at some point in the future. Anyways, let's start from the beginning. So the first thing that I wanted to do is tell you how I started, how I got to National Master, and then we go from there. So I was born on March 11th, 1992. Not that it really matters, but when I was 5 years old, I learned how to play chess. But like I said before, I'm not the traditional person that started early. I learned how to play chess at 5, but I learned how to play chess just like I learned how to play checkers and cards and dominoes. It was nothing special. I never read a book. No one told me anything beyond how the pieces move, checkmate. I didn't know about forks or pings, anything like that. I only remember that whenever I had a chance, I would play with my friends, my neighbors. But again, the only thing I knew was how to move the pieces. I know that I remember that I knew how to do checkmate with the two rooks, how to do checkmate with the queen, simple things like that, but nothing else. Then it wasn't until I was 12 that I started middle school in Cuba. And yeah, in Cuba we start middle school in the 7th grade. So I was already 12. And in these schools, it was mandatory to take chess. Besides Spanish, history, math, we had to take chess, we had to take English. And since I already knew a little and I was pretty good at it, the instructor at the school, he told me, hey, I think you should go to the local chess academy. I didn't even know there was a chess academy until I got there for the first time. Now, from this moment, when I got to the chess academy, this is the part that you guys are interested in because this is when officially my chess journey started. Now, when I started, the first thing that I can tell you is that my first coach, the person in charge at the chess academy, he did not want to work with me. And this is very important because thanks to things like this, thanks to the fact that I started late, I can remember many things and I can tell you. So it's easy for me to tell you what it took me to get here and then here and so on. So why is it that he did not want to work with me at the beginning? Well, he did not want to. And I know this because I go back to Cuba from time to time and we talk a lot. And he finally one time he came clean and he told me that he did not want to work with me at the beginning because I was too old. So he had his group of kids that he was teaching since they were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I got there when I was already 12, almost 13. So from his perspective, it didn't make sense to invest time in someone that is already 13. And I know that 12, 13 is not that bad, but when you're starting to play chess or other disciplines, it could make a huge difference. Imagine someone who just got started when they're 12 compared to someone that has been playing chess for 4 or 5 years because they started when they were 7 or 8. So this was my beginning. So what he would do, guys, is he was teaching his group and he would send me to the last table with a chess book just to do exercises on my own. Now, I tell my students this a lot. when I was doing these exercises, it's not like I could go to him 10 times a day and ask him. He was doing his thing and he was very serious. So it was not like I could go to him, hey, I don't understand this, or I'll give him the answer and then he'll send me back. No, I had to go to him with the answer. So this meant that for a few months, it was just me going to the chess academy. He'll give me a tactics book and I'll solve tactics. So I'll start with checkmate in one move, checkmate in two moves, then forks, pins, the tactics that you guys have been doing. We did not talk about strategy. We did not talk about endgames. Of course, the basic endgames, the basic checkmates, and we did not talk about openings. What I would do is, after I finished doing my exercises on my own, I'll go to him, he'll review the answers, yes, no, perfect, and then when he finished his lesson, I got to play with the rest of the kids. So to me, for many months, it was just doing tactics and playing with the kids, doing tactics and playing with the kids. And then one part about playing with the kids that you should know, I learned a lot when playing with them, because since they didn't have many chess timers, they didn't have many chess sets, what he would do is at the end of his lesson, he would set up 2 tables. And then a group of kids, let's say there were 10 kids, it was playing on this table. So you learned a lot as you were playing, but also when you were outside, seeing how other kids played. And that was, for me, for many months, what I used to do. And I'm telling you this because this is something that you could do right now. Nowadays, you have the internet. I did not have the internet. So that time that I spent just playing games with other kids, you could do it online. So you could go to the websites that you typically play in. The tactics that I used to do, you could find a tactics book, or you could do tactics on these websites that you guys are already using. Now, about the games that we used to play, I know that you asked me a lot what time control you should be using. I always tell you to use longer time controls when you're getting started because it gives you time to think and so on. But to be honest, what we played the most was Blitz. We had these old Russian analog timers and we had 5 minutes, no increment. And it was really tricky because you couldn't see, it was not digital. So you had to pay attention to the little flag and so on, but that's what we would play. So Blitz, 5-minute games. And of course, sometimes those 2 tables were full, so I would be playing someone else without the timer. So the point is that we were playing a lot. Now, besides that, when he got to know me a little bit more, he saw me coming back and he saw that I was interested, he would be giving me books to take home. Now, many of these books were, again, just tactics books or books or even magazines that had games. So what I would do is review the games and so on. So this was, guys, from September of that year. So I started at the beginning of the school year. In Cuba, we start the first Monday of September. So I want to say maybe from October, I started school in September. October, I started to go to the academy. Until March, I did not go to my first chess tournament. Now, when I went to this chess tournament, this was like the state championship. So you had to go to this tournament to classify to the pre-selection, and from there you make the team to the national tournament. Now, it wasn't until then that he sat down with me to teach me about opening. So he wanted me to go to the tournament, and of course, this was only when I played with the other kids that he had been teaching since they were young, and I classified to go to that tournament, because it was not like you could go, anyone could go. So you had to play locally, classify, make the team, and then go there. Now, when we sat down to learn about openings, he did what I do with a lot of my students. He sat with me, okay, against e4, this is what you could play, the Sicilian, the French, the Pirs, and I remember that I liked the Pirs. I liked the idea of the fianchetto. I liked the idea of having the bishop hidden. So it wasn't that deep. It was just that I just liked the pattern and so on. So he taught me the main ideas, nothing too complicated, and I went to my first tournament. Now, this tournament was, I want to say, one of the most important for me, because I got to compete with a lot of these kids that were playing since they were very young, 5, 6, 7, 8. And many of them, I still talk to them on social media and when I go to Cuba. And when I got to this tournament, I was supposed to play the second board. So I classified to be the second board. But somehow, and I don't know how it happened, the person that was supposed, or the kid that was supposed to play the first board, he missed the boss. I don't know how it happened, because this is a kid that my coach had been training for a long time. Everyone knew him, but somehow when we got to the place of the tournament, he wasn't there. So I got to play the first board. And luckily for me, I got to the tournament. I defeated the first game that I played. I defeated the guy. I did really well. I ended up winning that tournament. And I'm telling you all of this story because later on you're going to see that when my chess started to get more serious was when I got to this school. That is a school schools that we have in Cuba for athletes. And I think that I got there because of this tournament, because the person in charge of deciding who goes there or not, he saw me there in the tournament for the first time. No one knew me. And of course, someone that comes for the first time to a tournament and they do so well, it's something that calls their attention. So thanks to this, a few years later, I was able to get to this school. So up to this point, guys, what you need to know, all of this talk is for almost 6 months. So from October to February, right before we went to the tournament in March, what I did was tactics, play a lot. So maybe 1-2 hours a day from Monday to Friday playing blitz or playing without a timer. And on Saturdays, they would do this little blitz tournament. So it was just playing, doing tactics. And that's why I tell you that should be your top priority. What it takes you guys to get, and I taught this to my students a lot, what it takes you to get to be a 1200 player consistently, in my opinion, and you know this, ratings could vary depending on the website, depending if you're playing over the board. But let's say we're taking chess.com rating because that's what a lot of people use. So to be a 1200 on chess.com, all you need to do is get to the point where you do not blunder pieces. I'm pretty sure that if you're below 1200 right now, many of your games you lose them or you win them because someone blunders a piece, someone doesn't see that they could capture something, or they put the piece somewhere where it could be captured. And it's not that everyone else doesn't blunder, because I blunder as well, but not so often. So when you get to the point where you don't blunder so often, you're gonna make it to 1100, 1200 easily. Now, what it takes for you to get to from 1200 to 1500 is to be able to see your tactics instantly. So if there is a fork, you could see it. Pins, skewers, checkmate in 1, checkmate in 2. If you could do this, you're gonna get to 1400, 1500. This is my opinion. This is what I've seen with my students. So I'm telling you this. I know it's not so easy, but this is what you guys should be trying to focus on. It is important that in the meantime, as you get there, you're also learning a little bit of strategy, a little bit of positional chess, your fundamental endgames, but not too much. Top is going to be your tactics. So I got to the tournament. I did well in that tournament. And by the way, once you start playing tournaments, that's another thing. You're going to learn a lot from these tournaments. Not only are you going to analyze your games afterwards, and I know that a lot of you keep asking, how do I analyze my games? Well, what I used to do for all of this time, I'll come back home from the tournament and I'll go over my games on my own. I'll make notes. Okay, I think this is when I played, I did a bad move, or I went into a line in the opening that I did not know, and then I'll go to my coach and I'll review it with him. But then I'll compare what I had analyzed to what he had to say. And this analysis with the coach, it was a little bit tricky because you were analyzing the game in front of the other kids, and it was not like they were going to be nice or anything like that. If you did a move that didn't make sense, they were going to tell you on the spot, and it was a little bit embarrassing for all of us. So I got to the point that when I went to my other tournaments, every time I was going to make a move, I'll be thinking, okay, when I do this move, when I'm analyzing the game with my coach, I need to tell him why, because he was going to ask you, okay, why did you do this move? You had to have a reason for every move. So that's something that for a while I always remember. Okay, if I do this move, I better have a reason for it, because I know my coach is going to ask me later. So after the tournament, we reviewed the games, and this is pretty much what I did for all of this time. Now, after this 6 months, of course, I already knew a little bit more of openings. The opening that I played up to this point, guys, it was with the black pieces, the P's, and I'll play the King's Indian defense as well. Now, the King's Indian defense, I did not know much about it. I just knew the main plans that he told me, not even as much as you know right now. I just knew the main plans. If they played e4, I'll play the P's. If they would play something else, I'll go into the King's Indian defense setups. If they play the English with c4, I'll do the same thing. And I'll try to expand on the king side, the same things that I knew. Many times I'll get in trouble, and then only when I got in trouble with that specific variation, I'll go back, I'll tell my coach, and we'll review it. But it's not like he was teaching me everything about openings just in case. I only learned about certain variations when I faced them and when I got in trouble with them. Is that the best way to do it or not? I don't know. That's just my experience. Now, with the white pieces, I always played e4. So I was an e4 player, and I always tell my students, and this is recommended in many books that you're going to read, you're supposed to, first, don't worry about openings. When you start taking openings seriously, you're supposed to get experience with the open games, which are after e4, e5. And then you get into other variations. Now, I played e4. I had one line against e5, and against e5, I used to play the Scotch game, the 4 knights. Sometimes I would do bishop e5. I would do d4, getting into these Scotch kind of positions. I had one line against the Sicilian. I remember against the Sicilian, I used to play the, how is it called? The Alapin. I think it's Alapin in English. So e4, c5, and then you do pawn to c3, and I got a lot of experience with this kind of positions. From the Alapin, there are lines where you get an isolated pawn. So I'm playing as the white pieces with an isolated pawn. This is something that I didn't really like because I knew that isolated pawns could be tricky. But also, you're going to learn now after lesson 100 that isolated pawns could also be really good. So I got this experience, and what this did to me, guys, is that later I'm going to tell you how I finally made it to National Master. Later, when I said, you know what, I need to change my openings, I stopped playing e4 for a while. I just focused on a specific system that I'm going to tell you. It didn't really matter because I already had a very good foundation with all of these positions. I knew how to play against the Sicilian, the Caro-Can, the French, and I got familiarized with all of these different position types, and that's really important. Now, next step, the next part of my chess journey was to, okay, I already knew my openings. I have been doing tactics for a long time, playing games. I needed to start learning something else. So I started to read books. Now, these first books, guys, these are books that, and I'm going to show you some examples. These are books that are just full of games. Like one of the first books that I read was the book, it was a book about the match between Kasparov and Karpov. And it was just that, me reviewing the games. They had some comments, and I remember learning a lot from this game. Sometimes, not always, I would sit down with a friend, with my coach, and we'd analyze a specific game, but it was mainly me after playing at the academy, going home, and starting, just turn the radio on, start reviewing the games, and again, I learned a lot like that. Those were the books that I read, just books that had games in them, analyzed by someone. I'll read the comments, and so on. Now, when I was analyzing the games, like I tell you, I would set up my chessboard, reproduce it. Whenever I'll get to a diagram, then I'll try to, the next moves, I'll try to do it in my head. So instead of continuing reproducing it, I'll just force myself to say, okay, next move, bishop here, knight here, and I'll try to do it in my head. Even if it was blurry, I'll try to do it. And it helped me a lot. So up to that point, just books, reviewing games, continuing doing what I was doing before. Fast forward to the next school year, I get into this school that all you do, guys, is do your math, history, your regular subjects in the morning. Then at noon, you go and do your sport. If you do boxing, you do boxing for another 4 or 5 hours. In my case, it was chess. So that's what I was doing for a few years until the coach from that school, he asked me if I wanted to start playing with one of my best friends. And by the way, guys, I'm going to leave you the link to his YouTube channel. He also has a YouTube channel with a lot of great content. But this is Michel. He's known as Mr. Chess. I started to train with him because he was way ahead of everyone else in this school. So this is the traditional person. He started very young when he was like maybe 5, 6, 7. He lived a block from the academy, and he actually formed himself the traditional way. Excellent. He was way ahead of all of us. And I was asked if I wanted to train with him, and of course I said yes. Not only was he stronger than I was, he also had a computer. Almost no one in, at least where I lived, had a computer to get access to more chess resources. So he was nice enough to let me come and train with him. And then this is another part that you might be interested in. What did we do during these training sessions? First, let me tell you what we didn't do. Never did I sit with Michel to talk about openings. He had his openings, I had my openings, which were still playing e4 with my lines, playing the pips, playing the king's Indian defense. But what we did a lot was we had tactics. We had days where we just did tactics, and these were more complicated. These were like you had to calculate different variations and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 moves. I'm gonna give you more examples later. But there was one part of that training that really helped me a lot. At the moment, I hated it. I still think of my days training with him, and this is what I hated the most. And it's that Michel, he liked, and I think he still likes it, to train with artistic endgames. Now, if you don't know what an artistic endgame is, these are endgame positions that you had to solve, but these were positions that never happened. These were things that someone sat down to make them artistic. So it's just, to me, it didn't make any sense. I didn't really like doing that because besides the fact that it never happened, it was really annoying. You had to calculate sometimes 10, 15, 20 moves, and I'll almost never get it right. Now, I'm telling you this because this is something that helped me a lot. Even though I was almost never getting it right, I was getting so annoyed by these exercises. The fact that I was calculating, it helped me develop my ability to visualize and to calculate. This was an endgame where you only had like maybe a few pieces, knights, bishops, pawns. You had to calculate specific variations, specific moves, and many moves were like those computer moves that it just doesn't make any sense. It's just a very accurate move you have to consider. And this is what we did. I mean, of course we did many other things, but this is the main component that I think helped me get my ability to calculate and to visualize to the next level. These artistic endgames. Now, I'm not telling you go get a book on artistic endgames and do that, but all I'm saying is if you're doing your tactics, if you're a person that you're just right now comfortable with checkmating in 2 moves or in 3 moves, well, find exercises where you have to find checkmate in 4 moves, in 5 moves, because even if they're impossible to you, the fact that you're calculating, even if you're calculating nonsense, you're forcing yourself to see the pieces moving on the board, and it's going to help you a lot. So after that part, guys, this is what I was doing, training with him, of course, doing a lot of tactics. I was doing these exercises. I would review my openings on my own. I would review games on my own. But there are a few books that I was reading as well that my coach gave me, and I want to show them to you because these are the books that really took me from that level that I was at that point to the next level. And I'm talking about 3 specific books. And the bad thing, and you're gonna see them on your screen right now, the bad thing about these books. Actually, before we get into those books, let me tell you about 2 other books. I told you before that I was telling you about these difficult tactics that you could do just to force yourself to calculate. There's one book that I've been recommending on every video. In the description, you can see my book recommendations. Well, one of the books is this one, guys, 300 Most Important Positions and Ideas. This is a book that I like it because not only, let me see if I can go to chapter number 2. This is a book that I like it because not only is about you finding the exercises, and when you do exercises online, they just tell you, oh, it's right or it's wrong. This book, after a few exercises, they're going to give you the answer. So as you can see, it's not, this is the move and that's it. They give you feedback, they give you a lot of information, and you're going to learn a lot from it. So this is, there are many books, maybe better than this one, but those of you who have worked with me privately, you know that I instantly give you this book and get it because this is a book that I know is going to help you a lot. Not only it has difficult exercises that are going to force you to calculate, but you're getting exposure to these important positions and ideas. So this is one of the books. Now, the other book, remember that I told you that I had some books where I just reviewed games, I would look at the comments. Well, this is another book that I instantly tell my students, start working on it. Of course, depending on their level, but if it makes sense, this is another book that I recommend. Judgment and Planning in Chess. Now, not it's not that complicated, that advanced, but if you look at the table of content, you're gonna see that these are things you could complement. If you have, let's say, on Mondays you do your tactics, on Tuesday you want to do something about strategy and positional chess, this may be a good book. Very simple, not that long, and you could touch on these ideas. Even if these are subjects that you're familiar with, it helps to take a look. Again, guys, there are many other books. These are just books that I've been using with my students for quite some time. So there you have it. If you want to take a look, these are the two. Now, the ones that I worked a lot with when I was in Cuba, I was working with these ones. Now, the bad thing about these books is that I think they're only in Spanish. But if you Google or if you look this guy up, Roberto Grau, he has this very well-known series, which is 4 books. The first one, Rudimentos, this is going to be how to play chess from the very beginning, how the pieces move and so on. But then the second one, you can see here, number 2, is about Tactica. So this is tactics. And it's not just diagrams. This is him going through entire games, and then he's going to talk about the different tactical ideas, but through entire games, and there are comments and so on. Now, number 3 is going to be about, this is pawn structures, and it's the same thing. It's him showing you these classic games where you can learn more about the different pawn structures, how to use them, how to take advantage of them. Excellent book, and this is, many people agree, this is one of the most important books, the one about pawn structures. And then lastly, you have Superior Strategy. So when I was told about these books, and these were books that my coach gave to me, he was very careful. He told me you have to be careful with them because they are really hard to find, and the ones that he had were really old. But he told me, when you finish with these books, you're either going to become a better player or you're going to go crazy because it's a lot of content. And if you speak Spanish, it's going to be easy for you to find them and study them. If not, I don't know if you could find them in English or other language, but just know these were books that helped me a lot. If you cannot find them, guys, it's pretty simple. Just look for books that are going to help you with pawn structure, tactics, and superior strategy. I know it's not exactly what you want to hear, but there's so many books out there, and it's true that some books are better than others, but if you're just getting started, any piece of information, anything that you could digest is going to help you a lot. Now, enough talk about Cuba. So in 2008, guys, remember, I started when I was 13, so that would be, 12, that would be 2004. I played for a few years. All of this that I told you happened until 2008 when my family decided to move to the United States. So I got to the United States 2008, and I did not play chess for a few years. I did not have the money to get into tournaments. My family cannot just drive me around to tournaments. So to me, I just forgot about chess. I focused in school, so I was in the 11th grade, so high school, and I did not play chess. Actually, when I met my wife, who's over here, Greg, you want to say something? She doesn't want to appear in the video, but when I met her, she did not even know that I played chess. So we met, we started our relationship, and we did not even talk about chess for a few years until 2010. So this was 2008. In 2010, we started college, and there was this tournament organized by Grandmaster Rainier Gonzalez, another great Grandmaster. He's also from Cuba, excellent person. And I got to this tournament. I just played because I told my wife then that I knew how to play chess. So he told me, let's go, just something different. So I went to the tournament. It was a Rapids tournament. I think it was on a Saturday. And I did pretty well. So Rainier, he approached us and he told me if I wanted to be part of the school team. And I told him I didn't have the time because we were also working part-time. So I really didn't have the time. Plus it was first year of college. But then he told me that they would give me some money for some scholarships. So I said, you know what, why not? And on top of that, we did not have to train. It was just being part of the team. And I think at the end of the year we had to play a tournament, and that's the first time that I played again after I came from Cuba in 2008. So 2008 I got here to the US. I didn't play chess for 2 years. 2010 I played my first tournament. Now what you see here on your screen, this is my USCF profile. So this is my tournaments, and this is my full name, by the way. Middle name is this one. If you look at the first tournament I played, this is December 2010, almost 2011. And this was the Pan Am Blitz. No, this is a Blitz. This is a side event that they did, but this is the main tournament. So I went from 2028 to 2098. So after 2 years, I only got 40 points. Now, you might be asking where this 2058 comes from. And this is another question that you guys had. How much rating did I have at this point, at that point? When I was in Cuba, it was not so easy to play rated tournaments. So it's not like now here in the US that I take my students to the tournaments and they're already rated. Back then, it wasn't so easy. You had to classify to these tournaments, finally get to a tournament that was reported to FIDE. And even when you did, you needed 9 games with people who had a FIDE rating in order for you to get your official rating, your official FIDE rating. And maybe more. I think it was 9, maybe more, maybe less. Not less, maybe more. But the point is that I didn't play many rated tournaments. And the ones that I played, I'm going to show you in a moment. I'm going to go to the FIDE to see my profile. Many of these what happened to me, guys, is that since I have a middle name, some of the tournaments, they reported me as my full name with the middle name, some of them without the middle name. And I don't know how it happened, but the point is that I never got my name, my 9 games. One tournament I got 5 with a name, the other one with another name. It was just really tricky for me. And it was not like I could call or email FIDE. It had to be, back then, I had to contact someone in Cuba. That person had to contact someone else. The point is that it never happened. But the rating that I had when I left Cuba was 2058. Now, if you look at, these are just Blitz, Starbucks Blitz. And this is, look, after 2010, I did not play anymore until 2013 that I played a Quick, a Blitz, Starbucks Blitz. And then in 2013, I played the Epicure. So this is a tournament that they had in Miami. And you're going to see how from this 2098 that I had in 2010, I jumped to 2213. And this is after having 13 rated games. Guys, the reason why it happened is because all of this time in Cuba, I was accumulating knowledge. I was getting stronger. I never worried about the rating. I just did it for fun. I like the game. I train. I practice just to go to tournaments, to practice. And that's what I tell a lot of my students. The best advice I can give you is to play chess if you're having fun. Just have fun, get stronger, and the rating is going to follow your strength later on. So to me, I played this first tournament, just a few games, 2098. 3 years later, since I had the strength, I just jumped from 2098 to 2213. The next tournament, this was September 2013. Then in October, the following month, I jumped from 2213 to 2308. Now, again, this is not something that you train for a month and you're going to jump like that. I just had the strength. I was just underrated. And I remember when I came here to the US and I played these Epicures, a lot of people did not know me. So when I started to defeat some people, and not because I was playing really difficult opponents, but people who were maybe 2200, 2100, I was defeating them. They were surprised because I was unrated, but they didn't know my background. But this is just to show you how I started here in the US. Finally, I got to 2308, and this was enough for me to get the National Master title. To be honest with you, and I told my wife when I got the title, to me it didn't mean anything. It was nothing. Like in Cuba, like people were always talking about international master or grandmaster. So getting the national master, I didn't give it a huge. It was not that important to me. Also, because as you can see, I was not at this point in my life. I was not that involved in chess. So after 2008, I got to the US. I was set to not play chess again. But somehow chess got me back. So it pulled me back into the game. And when I got to this point, I was playing because I wanted to, just to have fun again, not because of the title. But I got the title and I have it there, and that opened many doors for me. When I started later to teach, I opened a small company to teach. Many people really respected the title. many of my friends, they started to, oh, you're a national master. And that's how I came to realize that it was a big deal to have a national master. But to me, I had just been playing chess, having fun, and that translated into getting stronger, and it got me the title. And now you can see what I did in order to get there. Now, after that, this is 2010, I've played a few more tournaments. You can see my rating went back to 2265, 2274, 81, 60, 81. But this is pretty much what I did. Now, I think this summarizes a long talk, but it summarizes how I got to National Master and why I say it's easy. Because if you play, just have fun, you do what you have to do consistently, you're going to get there. There's no other way. Now, the next thing that I wanted to go over is why I started the YouTube channel. Well, after I finished college, I finally got my degree, I got my job, and once again, all of this time in college, I was teaching chess on the side, but I would teach 1, 2, 3 lessons just for the extra income, but nothing too serious. And I knew that when I finished college, I was not gonna be playing chess, not teaching chess anymore, goodbye chess. But again, somehow chess got me back, and what happened is that when I got my first job, or not my first job, but my job with a better job with my degree, I said, you know what, let me just create a website on the side just in case. And this is one day I was at home, I saw the ad on how to create a website on your own, and I did it myself. My wife helped me out with everything. We did the website, and I had it there. And then one day, one school contacted me because they needed a chess instructor for the after-school program. So I told her that, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. I can go ahead and take care of your after-school program as an independent contractor. So I'll finish work and I'll go to that school to teach. And then I saw that it worked out. So I continued to contact more schools. And that's how I got enough clients or schools to open up a small company. And then I started to hire other chess players to help me out. And that's how Panoptic Lessons started. Now, I'm telling you all of this talk to get to why I started the YouTube channel, because among many other things, we had to set a price, we had to charge for our lessons. And one of the things that I didn't like, guys, was that sometimes I had very good students, very talented, but their parents could not pay for lessons. So this YouTube channel is something that I should have started a long time ago. Number one, for those people who couldn't afford chess lessons, because I never paid for chess lessons. It was free to me. So I think it was fair for other people to access it, but at the same time, I couldn't just give free lessons around. I needed the income as well. And I also needed to do this YouTube channel long ago, because even the people that I was teaching privately, it would have been very nice that I could tell them, like I say now, you know what, we finished this lesson. If you want to reinforce, if you want to practice more, go to this lesson number this or number that. So those were some of the ideas behind the YouTube channel. But then when I finally decided to do it, it's because my wife and I were talking, and I did not see myself teaching chess or being involved in chess for another 5-10 years. So I said, you know what, I know that at some point I'm not going to be doing chess anymore, but I don't want to just say I stopped playing chess or teaching chess and that's it. So I wanted to leave something behind. And what I wanted to leave behind is something that people could use to learn how to play chess. So maybe in 5-10 years I'm not doing this anymore, but someone could go to YouTube and learn chess properly from beginner all the way up. And that's also why I'm trying to do it the best I can, trying to put as much information as I can, because I really want people to have this. And that's also why I'm answering almost all of your comments, guys. Whenever you leave a comment, you know that I reply to all of them, because even if I stop replying to your comments at some point, people are going to have everything that I have replied, all of these questions that you have in the comments. So they have the video and they could go through the comments and see the answer to the questions that they might have, because someone already asked them and I answered and I replied to them. So this is why we're doing the YouTube channel. But with that said, now we have to talk where the YouTube channel is going next and where I'm going next. So let me tell you first where I think I'm going next. Once again, I think chess found a way to get me back in the sack, because again, I was just doing the YouTube channel to eventually just leave. But since I see this has gotten so popular, there are many people benefiting from it. And I also got more motivated again. So now I feel like I want to play tournaments again. And I think that's what I'm going next. I'm going to try to bring my rating up. I want to get to the next title, and that could not only help me out, but it could help the YouTube channel as well, because someone suggested maybe I should do a Road to Grandmaster segment or something like that. Well, I don't think I'm going to do it to Grandmaster, but I think I'm going to do it to FIDE Master. Now, FIDE Master is a title that you need 2300 FIDE rating, and I'm going to see when I get there if I continue to International Master and so on. So I think that's going to be great content. It's like a speed run, but in classical tournaments. So who knows? That's where I think I'm going. Now, before I tell you where the YouTube channel is going, let me talk to you about my FIDE rating. So now this is my profile on FIDE. The other one was on USCF, the United States Chess Federation. If you look at my rating here, guys, is 2124. Now, when you looked at the one over here on the USCF, notice that when I first started, I had 2058. So this is from those tournaments that I told you that some of them were reported, some of them were reported not correctly. Somehow I got this 2058. So if we go back to FIDE, you're gonna see that, let me see, if I go all the way back, 2001, I was not even playing chess officially. So if I look all the way up, look, available. My first reported tournament was on April 2008. That's the same year I came to the US. So I came to the US in September. My first official rated tournament was in 2008. So this tells you why my rating was never reflecting my strength. All of these years that I was getting better and better and better, I never played rated tournaments. So then I played again. Let me see if I go up. This is December 2013. So 5 years until I played my next FIDE tournament. Then 2014, another one. And 2016. So you see, it's nothing consistent. And that's what my rating is showing. So I'm confident. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think that when I start doing this, if I play FIDE rated tournaments, I'm going to get to 2300 easily. Well, I don't want to say easily because maybe now I can never get there, but I think I have the confidence that I have that strength. So that's going to be interesting to get there. And once I get to 2300 FIDE rated, maybe I could take it to the next level. And I think it's going to be interesting. Now, one of the main problems with this is that if I want to do it, I need to find FIDE rated tournaments. So probably go to a different country, or I really do my research here in the US, because in the US, a lot of tournaments are USCF rated. So some of those tournaments that you saw in 2014, 13 is because I played a USCF rated tournament, but they did a duel. So they also did FIDE. But even in that case, I only get points or lose points against people who have a FIDE rated. So if I play 10 people and only 3 of them were FIDE rated, that's what's going to affect my FIDE rating. So I know that I want to do it. That's already one of my projects. So let's see how that goes. Now, finally, we have to talk about where the YouTube channel is going next. Well, after lesson number 100, the most basic is that we're just going to continue with more advanced concepts. So back in lesson number 40 something, just to give you an example, we talked about isolated pawns, and I just told you what an isolated pawn is and why it's bad. Now, anyone who is a little bit advanced or more advanced than what we have covered should know that isolated pawns are also beneficial. So that's something that you're going to learn in the next few lessons. So what are the perks of having an isolated pawn? Also, when that isolated pawn is there in the middle game, how do we capitalize on it? We have to block the isolated pawn, put pressure on it. Also, you have to use these ideas of the principle of the second weaknesses. So you see, it's not so much about simple stuff like an isolated pawn. It's about all of the strategy, all of the different ideas around it. Also, we have to talk about the pair of bishops. Many of you, I have a lot of students who are 1100, 1000, and they tell me, oh, I did this to keep my pair of bishops. But the truth is, they don't even know how to play with a pair of bishops. So this is something that we have to do. I have to give you enough examples. We need to talk about how the pair of bishops is better. It's good to have it, but what do we do with it once we have it? And of course, we have to talk about other things. You can see if I do this of playing classical tournaments, that's going to be part of these next lessons. Also, we have to talk about blindfold chess. Blindfold chess is something that some people might say is a little bit overrated, but it could be useful for your training to help you with your visualization skills, your ability to calculate. So I'm going to be also introducing you to this idea of playing blindfold chess. It's not that complicated. Many people, especially my students when I teach in schools, I just play with them blindfold and they're amazed that I can do that. But that's something that as you learn chess in general, when you get, I want to say, to 2000, without noticing it, you're going to see that you're going to be able to do blindfold chess. Not perfectly, not really well, but you're going to be able to do it. But then there are exercises that I can teach you to improve faster, to get better at it. So that's pretty much where this is going. Long talk, guys, I know, but I feel like I had to tell you this for you to get a better idea of who I am, of how I got here, and for you to see that it's not a big deal to get to become a title player. So let me now get to the questions, and I'm going to try to answer as many as I can. So I'm just going to go through them. If I already covered that, I'm not even going to stop. I keep going to answer as many as I can. Okay, so for the questions, I see that we have 96. Again, guys, many of them I covered, like, say, number one, the first one, I covered this already. And, this is very important. So, now, seriously, I already said it, guys, at what age. I started when I was 5. And I told you my story, so you can see how long it took me to get to National Master. Okay, next one, at the present, 1550. And I would like to get to 2000, but I'm doing some basic mistakes. Guys, what you could do if you're already at the 1500, 1600, you need to train consistently. So number one, focus on your tactics. You could be doing tactics online or from a book. Number two, try to practice a lot. Number three, pick up a book that teaches you about strategy, about positional chess. So just books where you can read games. That's at least what I did. And like I've told other people, ask me questions. And the most important thing is that you do it consistently. So you could come up with a very basic training plan. You could be like, okay, on Mondays, if I have an hour, I'm going to do 30 minutes of tactics, and then the rest I'm going to play games. On Tuesdays, I'm going to read my book on strategy. Maybe it's just analyzing games. Well, I'm going to do that. And at the end, I'm going to play a game. On Wednesdays, I'm going to do Endgames. On Thursdays, I'm just going to play Blitz, or I'm just going to play classical games. Just make sure that you hit, on a weekly basis, that you hit these areas. Tactics, strategy, endgames, review your openings if you want. I know that I always tell you, do not focus so much about openings, but if you have the extra time, of course, it doesn't really matter, especially if you're already in the 1600, 1800, is going to help you. So if you have the time, that's what you have to do. Those little mistakes that you're referring to, they're going to be eradicated as you become stronger. If you do this consistently, you're just going to grow as a whole, like in all different areas, and all of these little mistakes are just going to disappear before you know it. All right, so next one. All right, so, I recognize this user. It's always, it's a regular on the channel, so nice to see you here. Okay, a few questions. Number one, what is your motivation behind uploading a video every single week? Well, guys, I really want to do this the right way, and unless we do it consistently, it is not going to work. When I first started, I just wanted it to be something that you guys had to learn. But now that I see so many of you are looking forward to the videos, that's the main motivation. Sometimes I don't even have the time to do it, or I would rather take another week because I have to do other things, but I just focus and I do it. Before I was doing this, I wanted to make sure that I could keep doing it. Once I say that it's hard for me to do something, like I really procrastinate, but once I give you my word, I'm just going to do it. If I don't do it, it's because something big happened. Now the next part, when are we going to build our own, Discord? Guys, this Discord, I learned about it a few weeks ago. One of my students told me about it. I haven't looked into it, but to be honest with you, I don't think I'm gonna do this because I just don't have much time. Maybe in the future where I don't have to commit too much time to teaching on other projects that I have, maybe I could get more involved. But for now, I'm committed to doing the YouTube channel, do it the best I can. I just don't want to get into other projects because I know I'm not going to be able to keep up with all of it. Because honestly, I'm pretty busy. So Discord, I don't think we're doing it. I'm considering doing at some point some live sessions and we could play there. I could point the weaknesses, but at least the Discord thing, maybe it's something that I could do, but I'm not going to commit to it for now. Now, how properly read chess books? Guys, like I've said it before, open the book, start going to the games or through the book. When you get to the diagrams, try to evaluate the position on your own. Before you keep reading, evaluate the position, try to come up with your next moves, and then you compare to what the book says. And just do it. It's just, you're going to learn from these books if you do it. Many of these books, you're going to read them over and over and over. These books that I told you, the one from Roberto Grau, I read them many times. And every time I read them, I learned something new. So that's something for you to keep in mind. Okay, and then we have college students, lesson from 18 until now, and 500. Okay, guys, so look, when I read comments like this is pretty impressive. So congrats to you, because jumping 500 points, he definitely has to be doing something else. He has to be training on his own. Of course, these lessons might be helping him, but most likely he's playing a lot and he's training on his own. So anyways, thank you for the nice words, for letting us know, because it really means a lot to see that you guys are improving. Okay, next one. Okay, for this one, thank you. What is the most overlooked and understudied subject in chess? Well, you should know, if you look at the lessons that I have posted, the least popular ones are the ones about endgames. And sadly, those are the most important ones. Endgames, nobody cares about endgames. I tell my students all the time, I've seen so many people who are 2000 and they get stuck at 2000. They're really good at tactics. If I get into a complicated position with them, a sharp position, I don't have any doubts that they could destroy me. But if I just play solid, I take them to the end game, I'm going to outplay them easily, because this person got to 2000 by attacking, by knowing his tactics, but people do not study endgames. And that's, sooner or later, is going to come back and bite you. So ideally, you'll be, since you're getting started, learning about everything: tactics, strategy, endgames. But endgames are going to become more and more important as you move up the ladder. So endgames is the answer to this. All right, next one. Will the Czech peers dominate the chess world? Of course, I think so. I don't know if that one or the regular peer or the regular peers, but we'll see. That's what we're trying to do. Let me see the next one. Okay, Ariane. So this is another regular on the channel. So nice to see you as well. Let me see. So assuming an ideal student reaches lesson number 100 and follows everything taught, then okay. So basically, what should your rating be if you do this 1 hour a day, 6 to 8 months? Guys, the answer to this is it depends. It depends on the person. It depends on what else they are doing. Now, one thing that I'd like to say about this, it depends on the person, because look, I have students that sometimes when they're learning the basics, like the forks, the pins, the skewers, they do very badly. They do very poorly, and they don't seem to understand it, while other people just get it like this. Many people understand these simple tactics without even knowing them. Some people have the talent and they just know it. However, then you see the same person that struggled to learn the basics, once they get that and they got to this stage, they just get it really easily when you talk to them about strategy and things more advanced. And then the other person that found the basics easy, then they struggle on that part. So it's very complicated. It depends on the person. Just know that if you do it consistently, for a fact, anything that you do in life consistently, you're going to make progress. So don't worry too much about where you're getting with the rating. Remember what I said before. If you do it consistently, you're going to get stronger and your rating is going to follow. There's no way around it. Okay, next one. All right, so another regular from the channel. And I can see here you've been supporting this channel for, I think this is like 3 months. Oh, 1 month. Okay, member for 1 month. Okay, when you visualize chess positions in your head, what color, material, 2D, what's your favorite piece style? Okay, so when I do this, guys, especially when I play blindfold, when I first started with blindfold, I could not even visualize a chessboard. I just closed my eyes, I would remember the pieces, more or less the lines, but I didn't really see the entire board. What I would do is, if I was gonna do my move, I'll be like, okay, my bishop is on G1, next to G1 is F1, F2, so the bishop moves like that. So I'll try to do that. Then I got a little bit better and I was able to start picturing or visualizing better. And sometimes, even at that point, I would forget at some point. So I had to reproduce the entire game again until I got there. And with some exercises that I'm gonna be telling you, you're gonna see how you improve that. But right now, if I close my eyes and I'm just playing blindfold or just visualizing, I think I just see a board that is like white and black, very quiet, very simple. It's white and black. I just see the squares, I see the pieces, and that's it. I don't think I see a fancy board or anything like that. Now, as far as piece style, I don't know. Look, I learned how to play chess in Cuba. We don't have fancy chess sets. Sometimes we didn't even have many of the pieces. It were these plastic cheap chess sets. Sometimes we didn't even have chess boards, so we had to draw the chess boards with on somewhere, and then we would put whatever pieces we had. So that is not something that I pay attention to. Here in the US, I haven't had the opportunity to play with many different styles. So honestly, I wish I could be more useful, but I don't think I have a favorite one. Typically, when I buy my own, I try to buy wooden pieces, and I want them to be weighted, but there's no specific one. So anyways, not the best answer, but okay, next one is the same thing. Blindfold chess, yes, I have. It's challenging, but like I said before, you're going to get there when you get more experience and you try it. You're gonna see it's not that difficult. Plus, if you do certain training, it's gonna become even easier. It's not. What I can tell you is that it's not as difficult as it seems when you see it for the first time. It's not like, oh, this guy is from another planet. No, it's something that you develop little by little. Okay, next question. This is a very important one. Is it possible to get significantly better without a coach? I think absolutely. If you have the discipline to train on your own, yes. There is one very well-known international master here from Florida. I wish I remember his name. I just don't remember the name. If I find him later, I'm gonna put the name somewhere here. But that's something that he's proud of, that he has never hired a coach. He got to international master on his own. And I really believe it. If you just train guys consistently, especially nowadays that you have the internet, many of the things that we couldn't do before, you could do on the internet. Play chess every day, you have online, you could do it online. Finding books, there are many books online. You don't have to be going to bookstores, everything is out there. There are many other resources. So yes, you could do it, just do it consistently, and you're going to get significantly better. Maybe you don't even want to be an international master. So if your goal is to get better, 100%. Okay, how do you respond to periods of time where you keep losing and become frustrated? All right, so we have all been there. I personally, what I do, I just take a break. So I just don't play chess for a while, and then I come back little by little. I come back just making it fun. So I just play some blitz games. I do what I like to do. If you like to do games without the timer, do that, and then start training again. So it's just everyone goes through it. Everyone has their tournaments or their periods where you play 2-3 tournaments and you're just doing bad until you get back in it again and you start improving. But to me, I just take a break. Sometimes even if I'm playing online and I just lose 5 games in a row, I just take a break and I come back later. All right, next one. Can I reach 2000 by just following the periods, King in defense, King in attack? Well, the answer is yes. Guys, what I did, I didn't say this before. What I did when I got to the US, I did not play e4 anymore. I just focused on playing these King in attack ideas. I would even play this setup where I would do d4, knight f3, the fianchetto on the king side, sort of like the Catalan, but I wouldn't do c4. I would do knight b to d2, and then c3, and finally I'll break on e4. This is something that I saw, I think, from games played by Aronian. And I said, you know what, let me just do this. I'll get these very quiet, solid positions, and I'll play my opponents many times in the end game. So I'll do that, combined with using the same ideas from the periods and the King's Indian defense as the white pieces. As a matter of fact, I have a game that I have to show you where I played a very strong grandmaster from New York, and the game was a draw. I almost win the game. I just made a mistake in time pressure, and I was playing the same ideas from the periods as the white pieces. So it's the same thing almost, but colors reversed. Now, I'm not saying this is a very powerful or the best opening. It's just that to me, knowing these ideas, it makes it really easy for me to be always in my elements. And this is what I've been telling you in all of these lessons. Now, something very important. You can make it to 2000 and beyond by only playing these, but it is important that you get exposure to other position types. So for me, even though I played always my openings, even during this time in the US where I was focusing on these positions, I kept reviewing games where they played the Sicilian defense, the French, anything that I could put my hands on. Because sometimes you go from the pits, you transpose into another opening, and it is important that you're always in your elements, that you can recognize the different plans and ideas. So what I do with a lot of my students is, if you have your regular chess.com or Lichess, anything, you have your regular account and you don't want to mess that up by using other openings, what you could do is very easy, create another account where you just play this other position. So for me, I have never played the Sicilian as my main weapon, but I have some lines that I use them to surprise my opponent. So what I do is I have a different account where I play the Sicilian, I play the French with the black pieces, and even though I'm not an expert, I get experience with this kind of position. So that's something that you could do. Okay, so another question from another regular, actually a few questions. So number one, what are the plans for the next 100 lessons? I just said it. Another thing that I think I didn't mention, guys, openings. I think we're gonna cover almost all of the openings. I know that one of the next ones that you're gonna learn is the Sicilian defense. I'm gonna teach it the way that I teach my students. This is a very complicated opening, but I'm gonna teach you a variation that is going to help you get there and start to experience everything, so that when you get to the really complicated variations, you already have a very good understanding of the Sicilian spirit. So that's something that you're gonna see besides everything else, strategy, positional chess, middle game, of course, in general, endgames. So that's part of the next 100 lessons. Now, do you aim to become a grandmaster? If yes, how you prepare? Well, I told you what my plan is. To prepare, guys, I'll probably do what I'm telling you to do. Set up a training plan. So on Mondays, I'll do maybe tactics. On Tuesdays, I'll do opening preparation. On Wednesday, end games. On Thursday, maybe I just play games and things like that. But this is something that I think I'm going to keep you updated. I'm going to let you know, and it's going to be even more content that I can share with you. And then number 3, as a chess player, how one should focus on health consciousness. Well, this is very important. You should know by now, chess players, guys, we have to have a very good physical preparation. If you want to sit down for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours playing a chess game and you want to do it efficiently, you have to be prepared physically. You have to be able to sit there without your back hurting or any other part of your body. You have to have the stamina to be focused and concentrate throughout the entire game. Especially here in the US, when we do tournaments, a lot of the tournaments are 2 games, sometimes 3 games in a day, and that's a lot. So you have to be strong, you have to exercise consistently, you have to be in good mental but also physical shape. That's extremely, extremely important. So you do have to train, also go to the gym or just do some physical exercises, watch your diet, make sure that you rest. All of that is important when you go to tournaments. And one thing about that, I remember when we go to tournaments in Cuba, the scholastic tournaments, we were not even allowed to play blitz. So sometimes now when I go to the tournaments, I play on these side events that they do blitz, so we play for fun. Well, our coaches did not let us do that. We went there to play the tournament games. Outside of that, no chess. You could do something else, but no blitz, no nothing that could get you tired or something like that. Is that mandatory? Does it make sense or not? I don't know, but it makes sense to me, and I try to do it with my students as well. I try not to get them involved into anything else. Just play your games, and that's it. Okay, next one, Mark. Okay, so I know when I have a winning position, simplify. What to do when I have a losing position? Well, the best way at least what I try to do all the time is complicate the game. So just the opposite. Instead of simplifying the game, you want to avoid trades. You want to keep pieces on the board in order to create complications. Just attack the king. And here, for the most part, we're not talking about creating weaknesses or weak pawns. It has a lot to do about tactical complications. So go after the king, try to create a good attack so that they have to compromise, they have to give you material back, or they get checkmated. So when I'm losing, where's the king here? All of my pieces there, I have nothing to lose. I deploy all of these crazy attacks to see what happens. Something that I used to do when one of my training when I was in Cuba is that sometimes we would play a game where we were down a piece. So we'll start the game without a knight or without a bishop, and then this would force you to look for this kind of game, just an aggressive game, trying to go for the king and complicate the game. So There's much more that we could talk about, and we will in future lessons, but in essence, that's what you try to do. Okay, guys, so another good question. At what level should I mix up my opening repertoire? Well, the answer to this question is very simple. We do not want to replace any of your openings. So mixing them up is fine, but what I want you to understand is that whenever you learn new openings, you're not trying to replace what you played, you're just trying to expand your opening repertoire. So as you learn more and more and more, you're gonna get to a point where you could play 5, 6, 7, 8 different openings and you know what you're doing. Or maybe you get to the point where you can play any of the openings. But just know that I think that you could get to easily 2,000 with the same opening. If you find the one that you like, then you could add more and more and more. But like I said before, even if you don't play all the openings, you're always going to be learning about them to supplement everything else that you're doing. Any opening could easily transpose from what you know into something completely different, and it helps to be exposed to it. Okay, so the e5 response to e4 seems pretty unattractive to me. Is there any way to justify using it around 1700? Okay, guys, to justify it, you just need to prepare it well. If you play e5, you need to have a very good reply to anything that the white pieces could do. So that's one of the reasons why I like to choose an opening like the Pirs, because I don't have to know so much about it. I specialize in my Pirs, and then I bring my opponents into my territory. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it. I'm just saying that it saves time, and that time that you have to use to prepare all of these lines, you could use it to focus on middle game and end game. But if you have the time to train properly, well, it's a good idea to just prepare your opening with e5 very well, and you're going to learn even more chess if you do it that way. Okay, so this one, the question is, you guys already know my favorite opening as the black pieces. How about the white pieces? Well, as the white pieces, I have always, when I started, I would play e4, and I think that's my favorite opening. I like to play e4. I have a reply for every single opening the black pieces could do, and I really enjoy this position. So e4, I think, is going to be my answer to this question. Okay, so another question, do you like to play any of the chess variants like Crazy House? Guys, the only one, I don't really like it. I just prefer regular chess. When I have the time, that's what I play. But a variation that I really like to play as I was growing up and getting more into chess was Bug House. So we'll do this a lot. Whenever we got together, sometimes in tournaments, we'll play Bug House afterwards. And it was really fun, but I don't do it that often. I do it with my students sometimes because these are great exercises like Crazy House to help them develop their imagination and so on. But I just don't like to do it that often. I'd rather play regular chess. But Bug House, I can tell you that we had a lot of fun with it. Okay, next one. Is it possible to play an opening without knowing any opening? Sometimes, yes. So if you just, guys, this is something that I really recommend. So if you know the basics, you know that you have to control the center, develop the minor pieces, and castle, by all means, this is something that you could do. I have a very good friend of mine. He's also a national master. And whenever he's talking to the younger generations, he always says the same thing. Forget about the Sicilian, forget about the French, just control the center, develop your minor pieces, castle, and play chess. And this is definitely something you could do. Of course, as you move up the ladder, you might want to get a little bit more organized. But yes, this is something you could do anytime. And just play chess. That's the best thing you could do. Okay, next question. I'm losing games that I can win easily because of time. What can be done to avoid this? Well, a few things about this. Number one, guys, if you want to get better at playing when you're in time pressure, you have to practice that more. So I know that we don't want to make blitz or bullet part of our training, or at least not the main part of our training, but from time to time, feel free to play blitz games, and this is going to get you better to make decisions on the time control. Also, if what he's referring to is to the fact that he's playing longer time controls and he's getting into time pressure, well, something that I do, especially when I'm out of shape, is that when I'm playing my opening, my middle game, moves that just make sense, I just do them. I just don't overthink moves or logical. So logical moves, do them quickly, do not waste too much time, and those bits of time could help you get into an endgame or to a final position where you're not in time pressure. But if you're just referring to, I'm in time pressure, I'm just blundering even though I'm up a piece, well, you need to play more blitz games, get into those situations, that way you develop what you need to improve that. At least as far as I know, there's not much more that you can do about that. Next one, how do you mentally prepare for playing a stronger opponent? Guys, this one is very easy to me. I just keep in mind one thing. The stronger opponent is going to have a lot of pressure because let's say you are a 1500 and you're playing someone who is 2100. Now, that stronger player knows that if they lose that game, they're going to lose a lot of rating points. For many people, rating points are not a big deal, but for most people, it is a big deal. So that in itself, losing to a lower rated player, someone that they consider inferior, is a lot of pressure. So this person is going to be there. Also, if you get to a position that it is a dead position, that is going to be a draw, that stronger opponent is not going to let that happen. So they're going to feel the need to create something to prove that they're better, take risks, sacrifice pieces, and that's where you're going to get them. So to me, how I prepare mentally, I know that I have nothing to lose. If I lose, well, he was a better opponent, but I also know that they have a lot of pressure on themselves. So I try to stay quiet, be solid, wait for them to take risk. And even though it's not something that you should do every time, so feel free to go and attack and play your game like you typically do, but always keep in mind that they're always going to try to force the game. And many of the people, the stronger players that I defeated, it was in this scenario. We got to a position that there was nothing for them, and we got to a position where there was nothing for them and they wanted to keep forcing it, and that's when they made the mistake and I got them. So just play your best chess, have fun, and remember that they have a lot of pressure whenever they play someone that they consider less experienced. Okay, so another regular of the channel. This one I think I already covered. What did you choose to play? Okay, so that's covered. What career would you have chosen? Well, guys, I studied business, and that's what I thought I was going to be doing mainly instead of teaching chess. So I think that answers the question. And what chess player from history would you like to play at least once in your life? Well, you guys know I really like Capablanca, but I think from the more recent ones, if I could play someone, I have always studied and admired Vladimir Kramnik. So if I could ever play him, that would be great. Okay, so another question about time control. Guys, what I do with a lot of my students is I haven't played 15-10, and some days I haven't played Blitz, where they play 5-minute games, or even sometimes 3-2. I just don't want to make Blitz the main priority, but sometimes it's good to do it. I've said it before. And then if we're preparing for a tournament, I haven't played games where they use the same time control they will have in a tournament. But regularly, I think you could play sometimes 15-10. Sometimes you could play Blitz games. If you find 3-2 to be too quick, you could do 5-5. And I think that's going to help you not only have time to think about strategies and everything else, but you're going to get exposure to being in time pressure, and that's going to help you as well. And here we have the last question that I'm going to answer. And the question is, how do you do to learn openings efficiently, and how do you learn how to plan for the middle game of the opening that you learn? Okay, so whenever you learn a new opening, this is pretty much what you want to accomplish. Let me see if I can show you. Okay, so this is more or less what you're going to be doing when you learn an opening. You want to look at the different variations that your opponent could use against that specific opening. So if I'm playing, let's say the Caro-Can, I want to know the options that I have as the black pieces, or the typical plans. What is it that the white pieces could do, the different setups that they could use. And the most important part, guys, is to review lots of games. And this is what's going to teach you more about the middle game plan. So if I'm learning the Caro-Can, I'm going to learn the theory, and then I'm going to look for games where people play the Caro-Can, and just review games, review as many games as you can. And you're going to learn a lot of chess, but of course, you're going to learn more about the specific plans for this opening. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, you're also going to look at the pawn structures. So what pawn structures come out of the Caro-Can typically? So you're going to know what kind of endgames you could get with those pawn structures in the middle game, where should you be attacking, and so on. There's so many. Many of my openings, I prepare them with encyclopedias, but nowadays there are many books on specific openings. So if you want to learn about the Ruy Lopez, I'm pretty sure there are many books just on Ruy Lopez where they explain everything. And even though you don't have to memorize everything, it is going to give you a very good idea of the opening. So guys, with that said, I know that I did not cover all of the questions, but the ones that I did not cover is because I answered them at the beginning of the video, or they were a little bit of the same thing. So I think that if you watch this video, I answered almost all of your questions. So I'm going to drop it here. I hope that you are as excited as I am for what we have ahead of us. There are many interesting lessons. It's gonna get a little bit more serious, a little bit more complicated. But if you have followed this course up to lesson number 100, you have what it takes to understand what's coming next. So I'm going to leave it here. I know it was a very long video. I talked maybe too much, but I really wanted you to get a very good understanding of where I am, where we're going. And I also wanted you to understand how helpful it is when you guys interact and provide your feedback. So like always, I'm going to see you guys in our next lesson, and I'll talk to you in the comments.